One and we're live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another power pack and exciting session of CampusCare EdTalks, an exclusive platform where the stalwarts of education come on board and express their viewpoints on burning topics related to education. Before I begin, let me quickly introduce you to Entab. We are a 20-year-old IT company engaged in providing matured and futuristic school ERP, CRM, and mobile apps to the top schools of India and help transform them from good schools to great ones. In today's session, we shall discuss how can schools enhance the skill of visualization. We'll learn how it can be used for a student to retain concepts, to understand concepts. So for that, we have an exclusive speaker with us today. Sarmistha ma'am is the principal of Young Horizon School, Kolkata in West Bengal. In her journey of more than 3 decades, ma'am holds an experience of teaching English at all levels. Ma'am has evolved and grown from an elementary teacher to the post of principal today. She believes in leading by example and serving with empathy. Welcome on board, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
So, ma'am, according to you, the concept of visualization, everybody talks about visualization, that we should be able to visualize stuff and everything. How do you think it can help today's generation in becoming, future creators or inventors?
So the first thing is, as educators, we all know that how difficult it is to, it's easy to teach a concept, but it's difficult to teach the child to understand and imbibe it. So uh, we have so many subjects to teach, right? The content is there, the teacher is the facilitator, and it's for the teacher to make it meaningful for the child. And the main aim is to teach the child to learn how to think effectively and critically. And that's where the real challenge lies. Uh, as we all know, that critical thinking emphasizes, it develops skills like the child learns how to analyze, how to follow a logical argument, how to work out answers, how to clear clutter, and be, sort of be focused on whatever the outcome we are planning to. So here comes the importance of visualizing. See, visualization can happen with visual tools. That could be one way. There are other tools as well, because the child has to develop a picture, a mental picture of what the child is being taught. So that is basically what we are talking about today. And therefore, in order to visualize, critical thinking becomes very important to the child. And particularly in today's generation, this is so very important because a child has to learn how to think out of the box. A child has to understand the concept, the concrete that concept that we teach, and also to how to sort of make it uh, sort of how to make it a part of life.
Hmm.
That's very important.
Right. Right. So, ma'am, moving forward, you spoke about that it helps in enabling a child do critical thinking, think outside the box. Uh, it is something which I also try to imbibe in my team, that you need to think outside the box, generate creative ideas and everything. So, when we talk about that, uh,
Mhm.
does it also help in creating a story for, let's say, I want to understand the concept behind light in physics. So will it help? How should I visualize it practically if I want to talk about it?
Yeah. So, whether it is light in physics or Macbeth in literature or
Yeah.
a graph in mathematics,
Yeah.
it's the process is the same. That is, this line, seeing is believing,
Hmm.
right? What you see, you remember. So, tagging imagery. to the concept that we teach helps to retain and to retrieve. And also, like when we involve uh, senses, that this multi-sensory approach helps in visualizing. Uh, as you said, that when we are teaching a particular subject, which might be difficult for the child to understand, the moment we bring some concrete example, a day-to-day example from life, the child can relate to it. And the moment the child relates to it, half of your work is done. And then the conversation starts from there. And all those difficult concepts become easy for the child because already the child has related to it. It's no more a foreign substance to the child. It has become his own or her own.
Right. Ma'am, one of my favorite subjects in life during school times has been history. Do you think history can play, and I'm talking about not normal history, but I'm talking about conflicting history of World War One, World War Two, Cold War, African wars, and then Gulf wars. So I always used to visualize, and I still say that I'm born in the wrong era. I would have wanted to become a soldier for the Allies and fight in those trenches and everything. So that sort of helped me in visualizing. So do you think if we talk about history, we can inculcate the process of visualization?
See, just now what you said, the credit goes to your history teacher.
Right.
She did such a marvelous job, or he or she,
Ma'am,
whoever.
ma'am,
Okay.
here I would take her name. Her name was Minakshi, ma'am, and she has been a mother to me in school.
So here lies the importance of a teacher. Now, after so many years, you still have so much love for the subject, and you're so passionate about it. You wanted to sort of go back to that era,
Yeah.
So that is what is, and I'm sure visualization was introduced by her, and today you're taking an interview which has nothing to do with that those pages of history and how it came back. So
Right.
this is what it is. You have just said it yourself. So the classrooms, when we think of the classrooms in school, we have to keep two things in mind. We have to incorporate visual alouds and silent reading. I believe in these two things. Whenever as teachers, as educators, we keep on lecturing, and children get tired. The same voice, the same posture. So if we can keep our classroom visually allowed, we call as visual allows,
Hmm.
and if we can give them reading, which is silent reading, automatically things are imbibed better. And very soon, the physics teacher would be able to convince a child, no, I want to go and do something in physics, or the history teacher can convince a child that I want to relive those eras of the kings and the queens, or the English teacher can, sort of imbibe this ambition in a child. I want to take up English as my future studies. So
Right.
this is really what it is. It's very important that we understand it's not lecture. It has to be properly planned. Visual aids have to be there. Enough material has to be there, and there has to be silent reading in order for the child to visualize a concept.
Right. Ma'am, also one of the moving forward, one of the biggest challenges a student face, uh, even when visualization, I don't know whether it happens or not, but it used to happen with me that I'm supposed to write an exam and suddenly everything is blank.
Going blank. Yes.
And I don't know, and I'm trying to remember that what was I doing at that point of time, how to relate it to that. So how can it help? How can visualization help us in this?
Yeah. So again, just before an exam, or even after recess, we go through this mental anxiety or excitement. Okay, so before an exam, what happens? We are very worried. We don't know what the question paper would have for us, and therefore suddenly the mind goes blank. So here again, visualization comes into, like, it has its importance. If a teacher can bring in visualization there to calm the anxiety of the teacher, of the students, I mean, again, as I said, visual aid is not there, is one part of visualization. A
Hmm.
story can become a visualization. So if a teacher can, make the environment uh, conducive to the paper that the child is going to write, calm the child down, talk about, as I always say, talk about everything else but examination and studies 5 minutes before the examination. I mean, talk about anything. And this, again, gives an insight into our students' mind.
Hmm.
Like, they would be very quietly sitting down and you start up a topic of cricket match, or you talk of anything, that they love to talk of. And suddenly it all comes back to them. So, that we need to calm their nerves and bring them back to, okay, it's nothing where, extraordinary going to happen to you. This is just an exam. The ceiling will not fall on your head if you don't write the right answer for a particular question or two. That is very.
Ma'am, which brings me to a very important point, what you just mentioned right now. Okay, so fine, I understand if I have particular interest in particular subject or maybe particular chapter, I would be trying to actually visualize. I'll make an effort. But what if those things doesn't entertain me or maybe it's boring? How can a teacher then manipulate the entire situation and help a child visualize those things?
Um, you know, I I have to disagree with you in this point.
Okay.
Uh, a student will never ever find a teacher boring.
Ma'am,
Uh,
chapter.
oh, okay, okay, chapter. Okay,
No,
sorry.
I'm
A
not saying teacher.
okay,
Chapter
no,
ही
okay.
बोलेंगे.
So a chapter boring if the chapter is delivered properly. It's up
Oh,
to us. It's up
right.
to us.
Okay.
We have to make the chapter meaningful. I mean, otherwise, they could have sat at home and learned from the books and sat for the exam.
Right.
So we have to make it interesting. Those words printed in black and white have to become alive, and that is where the teachers work lies. And
I mean,
we
you just
are,
answered it right now. Those words printed in black and white have to become live. So, in
yes,
order to visualize how it becomes alive, automatically visualization comes into play.
yes.
Beautiful words, ma'am.
Automatically it will come. And that's what I keep saying, like it's all in our hands, and God has blessed us with this profession. I mean, we are working with children, and they are in our hands how we mold them, how we bring them up. It's a very big responsibility, and once we understand that the job that we have got, that is been blessed, I mean, we are blessed with this job, we will make the most of it.
Right.
Because we are not
Ma'am,
working with files, we are not working with machines, we are working with children,
right.
and it's a very big response.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, you spoke about Macbeth. Now, if I talk about Macbeth, we have Othello and all those things. So we have Shakespeare. I mean, I remember there was a back in school. I did a play called The Sound of Music, and I was a little urchin in that. I won't go there. But then theater also helped me in unlocking the power of visualization. So do you think theater helps or arts per se? Let's say music, because you need to visualize and you need to feel the music as well. So do you think all these extracurricular activities helps in visualization?
Very much, very much. See, I'll tell you, for many of our schools, we have children coming from homes where they don't speak in English all the time. So, school is probably the only environment or one of the few environments where they learn and they hear English.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
Now, when we are teaching music, they love it because the tune and whatever, and it's not studying, it's co-curricular. So co-curricular activity is always interesting. The naughtiest girl or the naughtiest boy of the class, the restless child would love to go for co-curricular. But actually, what are we teaching it? Through music, through singing, through dance, we are teaching the language. So here they are learning. Now, as you said, Shakespeare is always difficult to understand because of the language or whatever. So the moment we introduce theatre, we do role play, we do need a stage for it. Even inside within the classroom, become different children become different characters. Then the entire scene, instead of being just read and explained word by word, if the scene can be enacted, it becomes visual and the child visualizes it. So,
Right.
and another important thing of theatre is, you know, that when you are acting, like you said, you had taken part
Sound of
in
music.
sound of music. Yeah. So when you are acting, you are actually addressing to the audience the questions like who, what, why, when. You are throwing these questions to the audience. You are answering them rather by yourself, and that itself is a life skill that prepares you.
Right.
So this critical thinking is very important. I come back to the critical thinking. Unless we learn to think, unless we learn to read, unless we learn to ask questions, we can learning is never complete, and we often get deviated from that. So that is very important.
Right. I still remember that song that we did in Sound of Music. I am 16, going on 17.
Do you
So,
still remember that?
yeah, and I can still
And
visualize.
Edelweiss,
Yeah,
raindrops of roses.
yeah. Oh, raindrops and okay, I would get, I would divert from there. All right, ma'am. Now that we're coming to the close of the webinar, one last quick insight I would love to have from you. Do you think like we have today in today's era, we have so many aids when it comes to visualization? For example, virtual reality. Now there's something called holographic technology, wherein a 3D image is coming and you can touch and feel that person. So it has gone to the next level. But do you think these things actually help in enhancing the power of visualization, or it's just a tool to get the student excited or something?
See, let's talk about this pandemic that we are still experiencing. So suddenly overnight we had to switch to virtual platform from classrooms, right?
Right.
That was the time when teachers were sort of going in to the internet, trying to find different tools as you spoke of, again to make learning effective. Now, what happens when a new tool is introduced? It it's a success because they love it. But then this excitement doesn't stay for long. It wears off.
Yeah.
The child gets tired. So therefore, again, it's the facilitator, the teacher, who is in charge of that group of youngsters. How tools are there, technology is there, how to use it, how much to use it, and when to use it. These are very important factors, and these are human factors.
Right.
These will vary from classroom to classroom, subject to subject. Even if I may say, child from student A to student B. So this is where the human factor comes. These are technologies. Of course, it's important today. You can't think of a classroom without using technology. But on the other side, that human factor is the most important.
And absolutely the factor of learning and critical thinking. I'm pretty sure about that.
Come back to it.
Thank you so much, Samishta ma'am. It was a pleasure having this conversation with you. I told you I'm going to keep it short and simple and crisp. I delivered on my promise. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Lovely
Pleasure,
insights.
pleasure being here. It was lovely to interact with you, and it's not been formal, which I always feel that when you move away again out of the box, as we say, a formal interview sometimes it can get a little taxing, but
Yeah.
today I really enjoyed to be with you. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much, ma'am.
much.
Thank you so much. I love those words. Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a nice day.
You too.